Even men at the top of their game find themselves wanting more from life. Whether it's more meaning, unshakable confidence, a bigger impact, more money, deeper love, a hotter sex life, or a powerful legacy. Find out how good your life can be on this episode of Man Alive. Also, did you know there's a skill many men never learn that ends up seriously limiting your professional success and satisfaction in your love and sex life? I put together a free guide to explain this unknown skill and give you exactly what you need to use it today. Get it by heading over to ShaynaJamesCoaching.com or text the word ALIVE, A-L-I-V-E, to 44144. That's 44144. You'll also get access to Man Alive outtakes, raw footage, and bonus videos you can only get there. Hello, and welcome to this episode of Man Alive. It's funny, I realize usually at the beginning of these episodes, I say, I'm excited to be here, and this one actually feels different. I actually feel a little nervous. I feel excited. I feel deeply moved already. And we're going to talk today about the divine feminine, about rapture, about ecstasy, about orgasm, about invitations to men and what happens when women feel let down or left behind, when women go into mourning, and how you can actually stay connected with women. There's a lot we're going to cover here, and I have an amazing guest, Jenny Adams, who's a men's coach as well. Welcome, Jenny.
Thank you so much, Shayna. I'm really, really ecstatic to be here.
Yeah, and for those of you who don't know Jenny, I'll just give you a quick introduction that she's a relationship and sex coach for men as well, and works one-on-one and in groups with men to support them to learn the true power of their masculinity and to feel proud to be a man, and also notice how women react to them, when they are proud, when they're in their true power. And so Jenny helps men, similar to what I do, Jenny helps men learn to understand women and gives them tools to improve communication and increase intimacy with women by really fully stepping into their masculine and to help women feel happy and feminine. And her signature course is called Provide and Protect: How to Be the Man She Craves. So thank you again for being here, Jenny. And, before we started this recording, we were talking about some really vulnerable things that have been happening in Jenny's work with men. And I think what I want to start with is, you started sharing with me about these experiences of the divine feminine that are coming through you. You call them more rapture, ecstasy, orgasm, an experience that's beyond physical, it sounds like, energetic, yes, emotional, orgasmic. So can you start by actually sharing a little bit, because I think this is going to be pretty mysterious for men. What happens for you?
Wow. So just over a year ago on April 9th, I was sitting in my living room on the floor. A friend of mine and I were doing a full moon ceremony, one that we just made up. We were just saying our intentions, sitting on the floor with some candles. And suddenly this full body orgasm started, and it started in my pussy, went down my legs, up my entire body, and was very profoundly spiritual.
It just came out of nowhere.
Required no touch. It just came out of nowhere. I was just sitting on my living room floor. Mm-hmm. No one was touching me. I was just sitting there talking to a friend, and I knew immediately it was the divine feminine in my body. The first one lasted like 10 or 15 minutes straight. I was gripping the floor, screaming in ecstasy, laughing hysterically. It was like a laughing orgasm, but it was so deep, like noises coming out of me that I could not even make if I tried on my own. Afterwards, my friend and I stood up and we were dancing around talking about it, going, what the hell was that? she actually videotaped it. I didn't know it at the time, but she grabbed her phone and videotaped it because
Wow.
she knew it was so profound. And after we stood up, it started again, and it lasted about 20 to 30 minutes, and I was on my toes the entire time, and she was holding my hands, and I was violently is not the right word, but it was very, very physically large in my whole body, standing on my toes for 20 or 30 minutes in this massively orgasmic state that I now call raptures after I went to a progressive Catholic church and they gave me that word. Apparently there's a Saint Teresa of Avila who is immortalized in this huge marble installation somewhere in Europe from the 1500s, and she is in rapture in this.
Wow.
And yeah, it's beautiful, and that's exactly the look on her face is exactly
what you were
how
feeling.
I feel.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Then I have full control over this. I still have it 24/7.
You have it 24/7 right now.
Yeah, so I just have to surrender to it and let it flow through me, and it can come out whenever I want.
Wow.
There are moments, they're not very often, but if something profound happens, I'll have a rapture right then and there, and
wow.
I am not just letting it through, it just comes through. But it is absolutely amazing. There is nothing masculine in my body in that moment. I am completely in my feminine.
Can you say
every emotion I have
by that? Because I think that could be a little confusing. Like, what's the difference between masculine and feminine? Or, the other thought I'm having as men are listening to this is, well, okay, what's my place now, right? If you can,
mm-hmm. yeah, I get that. Totally get that.
Yeah, on your own, like, okay, where do I fit in here? Yeah, either one of those.
Yeah, so because I'm completely in my feminine, which I'll explain that in a minute, the feminine absolutely needs the masculine. It's like oxygen to the feminine. The masculine is oxygen to the feminine. The feminine is oxygen to the masculine. Mm. They both have to be there in order to move forward. I can have raptures on my own in my bedroom. It is boring as fuck.
It's boring.
It has to be. In the beginning, it was amazing. It still feels great, but it's just like there's something completely missing.
Oh, wow. Okay,
and part of it is
feeling.
Yeah, part of it is the masculine witness of it.
So there's a feeling, and I can totally imagine this, right? It's like the first time you have this feeling, or the first few times, or it's kind of like the first time you do anything. There's this amazing experience where it's so heightened, and then as time goes on, it sounds like there's a physicality of it, there's a pleasure of it, there's an opening, and yet there's a recognition, tell me if I'm getting this, that
yes,
a partner in it, and for you it's the masculine, like there's something that feels missing without that.
Yes, absolutely missing. It's like the feminine, the goal of the feminine, if you want to call it a goal, the ultimate goal is birth. And the ultimate goal of the masculine is death. And so we partner with each other to create cycles. And the masculine is a void. And when the feminine feels that void and the masculine doesn't step into it, the feminine becomes masculine themselves to fill that void.
Okay, say that again.
And that's what you see in the world.
When the feminine fills the void.
They feel a void of the masculine, and they want the masculine to come fill it, because the feminine wants to be full, and the masculine wants to be empty. That's why they're the void. When the feminine is feeling that void of the masculine, it is so fucking hard to not step into the masculine ourselves to fill it ourselves, because it feels horrific.
And what does
to have that space empty?
Women doing that, just so men can have a sense. That's what that is.
So a woman might do that if a woman, I'm going to use very simple things just because it's easy. If a woman asks a man to take out the trash, and one, he doesn't acknowledge that he heard her, that's part of her fullness. She needs to be acknowledged to feel full. That's one thing. So she'll repeat herself because she wants to keep She wants to feel full, like she wants to know that she's full. And so when men don't acknowledge women when they're speaking, they repeat themselves, and then men think we're nags or bitches, right? It's a cycle of the masculine and feminine where the masculine's not stepping into that spot. And that I know as a woman that men are focused on one thing at a time, and so I give them a break for that, but a lot of women don't understand that piece, that the masculine is focused.
Yep.
And we have to get their attention first.
Yep.
Before we can expect them to acknowledge us.
Mm-hmm.
And so then if the man doesn't acknowledge all the time she's now becoming this nag, she goes and takes out the trash herself, right, and does the masculine action.
Which,
the action is masculine.
Because the action, it's not like any action, I mean, this is how I feel, and you might disagree. It's not like any action a woman does is masculine, or it's not like taking out the trash is a thing only men can do. But if you look deeper, right, it's like this way that a woman's asking for help or support or partnership or connection or something like that. And then there's kind of this fall into like, I guess I just have to do it myself.
Yes, and the resentment starts.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because the masculine's not filling her void and filling her up. And it doesn't have to be every action. It's just a man going to work and working and making money is not filling her up. A lot of men think that that's how they provide, and that is one way, but it's not, nowhere near big enough.
And I've seen the frustration. I've seen a lot of men say, like, I'm going to work, or I'm making the money, or I'm doing these things. Why is that not valued or appreciated? And I do think that we as women need to actually appreciate. I mean, in the courses I've taught for women, if we're not actually, if we're asking for something and we're coming from resentment rather than appreciation of what's already happening, it feels really shitty to a man, you know?
Exactly. So yes.
Complicated, and there's all these dynamics happening, and I do think we all need to take responsibility for ourselves. But right, just going back to this, okay, the feminine wants to be full, wants to be acknowledged, appreciated, and I think men want to be appreciated.
Well, the appreciation is actually the masculine need, is appreciation.
Right, men want to be appreciated. Women, you think, want to be more acknowledged or heard?
We want to be seen and heard, witnessed. We want to be the inspiration. The feminine wants to be the inspiration for the masculine action.
Mm-hmm. And it's, again, I find myself, I think this is where I get stopped up or stuck these days, which is that, you know, we all have feminine and masculine. And so I don't believe like, okay, only women feminine, only men masculine. So I think that is becoming a little more confusing these days. But right, if we're talking about the state of kind of intimacy and connection, especially, and there are times where we could switch and maybe a woman would want to be in her masculine while the man is feminine. But right, to highlight that point of, okay, in these moments, for a woman to open into this, into what I often see men asking for, like, I want her to relax, I want her to open, I want her to surrender, I want her to, you know, bring her heart to me, bring her body to me.
Right? Oh my God, that sounds amazing. Just amazing.
Yeah.
We want that too.
Right. And so then it's like we're trying to support men, you men who are listening, like, how do you have that happen more?
It takes both people to do that, but I can tell you that some of my clients that I teach how to work with the feminine, and sometimes they come home from work and their wife's been at work all day and she's had to be in her masculine all day to survive in the patriarchal culture of society in a workspace. And when she comes home, she's still in her masculine. And she cannot step out of that masculine until someone else steps in.
Interesting.
Again, it's when she wants to be full And if she can't get that fullness from someone else, she's going to do it herself.
Uh-huh.
But she doesn't want to do it herself because that's what makes us not relaxed. We can't be doing all the action all the time, or we'll be in our masculine all the time and we will never be in our feminine, which is exhausting for both the masculine and the feminine.
Right. Right. And okay, I'm imagining the situation, right? So for a heterosexual couple, man comes home, man and woman both come home. They've both been working all day. And like you said, the woman usually has been more in her masculine, needing to accomplish and get shit done and, sit in meetings and communicate, all those things. And I think a man could walk into his home with his partner and just kind of feel this disappointment, like almost an immediate disappointment of, oh, this woman is my woman, this woman, like she's not ready to meet me, or she's not going to meet me. She's just in this hardened state, and then pull back or hesitate or give up, rather than imagining you're inviting or asking for is how he could actually come forward and help create that transformation for both of them.
Exactly.
And so
because the masculine has to be there. The masculine has to be there. And the feminine, it hurts so bad when the feminine doesn't have the masculine filling that void, that she has to step into the masculine herself.
Yeah.
He has to show up in his masculinity for her to be able to surrender to her full femininity.
Okay, and so what does that look like? Like, what do you support men to do to step in?
So it's going to depend on each person, because each person's been taught a slightly different model based on their upbringing. But just even when you come in the door, when a man comes home from work and his woman comes home from work, just hold her tight. Let her know that you've got her. Let her know it's okay to relax, that, that she's been working all day. Touch her softly. Kiss her without needing to have sex. Just let her relax into that physical relax. Give her a bath. Make her dinner. Whatever it is, it can be different every day.
Yep.
Dance with her. Just do something that puts her in that feminine mode. And you don't have to keep doing it all night, because she'll already be there.
Right. It's like at some point it kicks over and she is relaxed into it herself.
Exactly. But she has to feel safe to be there. And the reason why when I say provide and protect, that protect is letting her be safe in her feminine. That's part of it. There's a big piece for women that we don't feel safe when there's an expectation of sex, when there's any intimacy at all.
Wait, say that again. So we don't feel safe when any intimacy means there's an expectation of sex.
Yes, and when I say sex, I mean penetration.
Penetration, yeah.
If there's, even if it was just a moment, one night where there was no expectation from the man of getting his cock in her penis, or in her pussy, and it was just to give her orgasms. And I know a lot of men do this, but not enough. The man having that expectation that he's going to come does not let women feel safe.
Yeah. We
can't relax into our feminine when we have that obligation. Our guard is always up.
Yeah. It's so interesting, because I can feel how I've been fortunate enough to have those experiences with men. And so there's a part of me that, so grateful, right? And so deeply touched and have been opened in such beautiful ways. So it's hard for me sometimes to remember that in the general population, that doesn't often happen. It doesn't often happen that a man, I don't know, maybe I shouldn't say this. I would just say, I think it's more rare than I realize that a man would kind of devote himself to a night of lovemaking for his woman's pleasure. And I guess I want to acknowledge, right, that there are men out there who are doing that, who are lovers.
Yes.
And there are also men who do that to a fault and lose themselves and don't include their own pleasure in the lovemaking and just try to please or take care of their woman. And that breaks down also, right? If they're not actually.
It does. That's actually, I have an entire module in my online course about the pleasure hunt, which is hunting for your own pleasure. Yeah. Because if you're pleasuring a woman and not paying attention to your own pleasure, she can feel that.
Yes.
She knows you're getting resentful about it, right?
Right. You're getting resentful, and it's not really pleasurable for you, and we want pleasure.
Exactly. So I teach men, when I do in-person classes, sometimes I'll have them touch the palm of I'll take their index finger of their dominant hand and put it on the palm of their other hand, and just rub on their own hand lightly until they can feel their own pleasure in their finger.
That's great.
And then I have them touch their hand just regular, and then go back to touch your hand with your pleasure of your finger.
Yep.
And that's how you should touch a woman. Because it feels different for us, for sure.
Very different. So, okay, you can tell me if you're willing to go here. And I remember before we started, I said, we can always edit anything out if it feels too vulnerable. And you said, nothing is too vulnerable. And I said, right, that's what I thought you were going to say. And, I feel similar. So you recently put out an invitation to men to experience this divine feminine rapture, ecstasy, orgasm, and you invited men to come witness you, right? To have an experience with you.
Yes, and a group of men. I invited 73 men who I've had personal conversations with about what I experienced. And those 73 men were all very interested in what was happening. They wanted to know more. They wanted to learn more, experience. They had tears in their eyes a lot of the times when I was just explaining it to them. And so I invited those 73 men to this experience. And none of them came. Okay.
And none of them came. And you were really shocked by that, right? I mean, because it seemed like they were interested, and it seemed like they understood. Tell me if this is true. They understood that there was something that was to be called out in them, or there was something that they were gonna. I don't want to make it all about them, right? Because part of it's about you being witness. There was something that they were going to gain from having this experience, right?
Yes. So when I'm surrendered completely into that divine rapture, I am purely in my feminine, 100%. There is nothing. It's raw. It's vulnerable. It's every emotion on the face of the earth. It's ecstatic the entire time. And when I'm in that 100% feminine, they can feel their masculinity.
So they
in a way they never have before.
So you going so deep into that surrendered, feminine, expressive place actually calls out, what would you say, like what is that experience of masculine that they would get to have?
It's different for every single person. And again, it's all about their upbringings and their triggers and whatnot, but they actually get to feel their humanity and their masculinity at the same time. So our humanity, what links women and men together is our heart. Hearts have emotions, we have love. That's all human. Being emotional is not a feminine trait. It is a human trait.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that.
And when the feminine in these raptures can show you what that looks like and what that feels like at the most raw, vulnerable state possible, it allows each person that witnesses it to feel it, whatever emotions they have, without any judgment at all.
Mm.
But the other thing that is present is sexuality.
Mm-hmm.
Because the true feminine is an extremely sexual being. And the true masculine is an extremely sexual being. And this slut shaming and pervert shaming that we do in our culture really fucks things up.
It does.
So when in the rapture experiences, men can feel my humanness and my divine soul, which allows them to feel their divinity and their humanness, but they can also feel my sexuality, which allows them to feel their sexuality.
Right.
And so it lets them feel their entire masculine human self and divine self.
Which seems like, to me, the way I'm hearing it, it's like, or the way I think of it when I work with men, it's like getting to feel their strength, getting to feel their vulnerability, emotionality, whatever you want to call that, like the tenderness. And then that overlap between the strength and the tenderness, and nothing needs to be proved and nothing is shameful or dirty. There's just like this ultimate freedom to, I don't know, to be exactly who they are, right?
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So you invited men and you'd had conversations and they were excited and interested and touched and moved and crying and all of these things. And then
asking me how they could help me. Almost all of them asked me, how can I help you? I will do what do you want me to do? Just let me know.
Wow.
They all, not all of them, but the majority said those words.
Yeah. And then to not have them show up or not have them say yes to that invitation feels heartbreaking.
It is. And I did ask them for a paid ticket because the feminine, men cannot come for free anymore. I'm done with men coming for free.
Huh. I'm like that.
And what I mean by that is that the feminine is worth more than free porn.
Yeah. Yeah. That's so deep. Right. Like this is
men have been coming for free for a long time, and women are resentful for that. Yeah. And it's not, I want them to value me. I want them to value the feminine on the planet.
Yeah. Yeah. And what's it?
And them not showing up. Them not showing up has been just, I'm in mourning for the masculine, utter mourning.
Mm-hmm. I feel the heartbreak of that, and I'm also curious, like what is that mourning for you? What are you mourning?
The longer that this, I'll call it a spiritual awakening, is really what it is. It's more than just the physical raptures. There's a lot more going on. But the deeper I go into that, it is absolutely feminine. And that void of the masculine is so fucking painful.
Mm-hmm.
And I can sit here and I can show one man at a time who I am and what the feminine is. But this world is such a mess, it can't it's too fucking slow, one man at a time.
Yeah.
And these raptures are too fucking big for one man. They need many witnesses at one time.
Yeah.
This is exploding out of me.
Yeah.
Exploding.
And I hear you wanting, it's like, it's not like you just want to be witnessed to be, I mean, there's something you get to receive in the witnessing. I get that. But I also hear you wanting a waking up of, you
Yes.
want something for these men to actually step into something. And I'm curious what that is.
I want them to step into their own power. Right now, not every man does this. I'm not going to say this is every single man, but the majority, like you said, like we were talking about the pleasuring women part earlier.
Yeah.
It's rare for a man on this planet to be in his full power. And it's even more rare for a woman to be in her full power.
Wow.
I want everyone to be in their full power, which means accepting themselves as they are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it strikes me, right, that men haven't really been given models of full power, because in a way you could think, oh, well, if I'm a man and I'm in my full power, that means like I'm just stronger, I can accomplish, I can barrel forward, I can, right? But I think, you tell me if you're agreeing with this, like, to me, full power actually is love and strength, right? Like, how big can I love? How much can I contribute? How powerful can I feel? How connected can I be, right? Like, there's a much more expansive.
And it includes their sexuality. It's not all heart.
Yeah.
And it's not all cock.
Yeah.
It's both combined.
Mm-hmm.
The toxic masculine is either all cock or all heart.
Mm-hmm.
We can feel that all heart. As women, it's not attractive because there's no masculine polarity to our feminine. And when it's all cock, we can't feel the heart.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we don't feel safe.
I often work with men on this heart. It's like, it's funny when I say it, I'm like, okay, wait, how do I say this in a way that actually doesn't feel ridiculous? But sometimes I talk about it as head, heart, balls balance, right? Or head, heart, balance, where it's like a lot of men come to me. I think the men who come to me are often kind, caring, loving men, and the dial on their heart is turned up really big in a way. But the dial on their sexuality is turned down, and then they think, well, I've got to turn down my heart so that I'll be more sexual, or so that I'll be more able to express my sexuality. And I really work with men a lot on how to keep that heart dial up or open, right? And then to also turn up the dial on their sexuality, which often includes, or which often starts with, I would say, getting to be seen and appreciated, that it's good, right? That, like, to hear a woman say, great, I'm so glad you have those desires, I'm so glad you have those feelings, they are yours, they are beautiful, like, keep feeling them.
Exactly. I have almost every client I've ever had was like, I have told me out of their mouth, I had a dream about you last night, I was kissing you, or I was having sex with you, or I want to have sex with you. I never shame them because they're men. That's how their bodies react. That's how their sexuality reacts. I'm honored to be an arousal for men. Mm-hmm. Am I going to have sex with them all? No. But it's an honor to feel that from them.
Yeah. Yeah. So in this place of mourning, and and you and I talked, I'll just be transparent, right? You and I talked about this, where I think women can go into mourning and get resentful or bitchy or close themselves off, close their hearts. And, you know, I wanted to make sure that we weren't putting something out there that was cutting men down or blaming them or whatever. So I guess I'm curious how, well, okay, two things. One, it's like, I think what you're showing is mourning in a way where your heart is open. You're not blaming, shaming, attacking a man. And I really believe that we as women who have learned how to do that need to support and teach other women to do that. Then I think the question, for men is, what do they do with the counterpart of their closure, right? Which is women nagging, being resentful, you know, taking this mourning and this feeling of emptiness and, oh my God, I want to be full and I want you close to me. I want you to say, I've got you. I want you to hold me. But thinking I can't have it. So they start bitching, nagging, being resentful. How do you support a man to be with that, with a woman?
The first thing I teach men is how to be in their power center, which is not in their head. It's a couple inches below their belly button,
yes.
back by their spine.
Yes.
And I teach them to be present there. And when they're in their own power, just in an energetic way, changes everything. Everything. And I also teach them how to stand with a woman who is in her emotional range, wherever it is, if it's crying or in anger, how to do that. Because a lot of men, because our culture has taught men that they're not allowed to have emotions. It's also taught women that they're not allowed to have emotions.
Yeah.
But when women can't get their emotions out, and men are the same way, it's just that it's a slightly different scale.
Yeah.
We shut down completely. And if men can't hold a woman and encourage her to get her emotions out, the resentment just keeps building and building and building. But if they're in their power center and they're detached from, it's not personal usually with women. Our emotions are not about the man.
It's so good to remember that.
And so many men think that it's personal, and women aren't screaming at men right now. It feels like that to men because they have their hands over their ears. If they were truly to listen to women right now, take their hands off their ears, get their hands away from their balls, because I know they're protecting themselves, and listen, women are screaming for men, not at them.
Well, right. And I think some of the reality is that because sometimes women haven't been given the tools either of how to be vulnerable and open, there are some people who are fucking screaming at men and trying to cut off their balls. But I think even that, right, if men can listen deeper, if men can actually take it not personally, I do think then there is this recognition, right? Oh, right. These women are asking for something. These women are calling for something. These women are hurt. They need more love. They need more respect. We all do, right? Like, how can we all invite this from each other and support each other in this?
Exactly. Because women and men are both hurting badly.
Yes.
And men aren't the problem. They're actually a huge part of the solution.
I love that. Yeah. So, all right, as we're wrapping up, I think we could definitely do a part 2. We could
Love to.
Yeah. What do you want to leave men with?
One of the things that women have a hard time with, and Shayna, you and I were just discussing this in our own selves, is that we let men off the hook. a lot. We've been taught to not rock the boat, that men are more powerful than we are, that
maybe
we're the ones that have to change. We're the ones that have to do the work. And men have been taught that it's not okay to ask for help. And I know a lot of the men listening to this podcast are on a path, and I'm so proud of you for doing that.
So
because
great.
It takes a lot of courage for a man to step into that, because our society doesn't teach that it's okay to ask for help in this topic.
Yeah.
Men have coaches for finance, they have a golf coach, they have business coaches. Very few men study women.
Mm-hmm.
And women, I'm going to just put this out there. It's like one of those things in my closet. On my website, where people can sign up for freebies and things like that and sign up for my blogs, I have more women sign up than men.
Wow.
And this is all stuff about men learning about women. The women so crave men to step in and learn about them that they'll go do the work, which again is them being in their masculine, doing the work for the masculine who's not stepping in.
Mm-hmm.
And what I would leave for men is keep stepping in, keep showing up. And if you haven't showed up, show the fuck up. Women can't, in the whole world of personal growth, 90% of people that I've seen in any class besides the Tony Robbins one are women. Mm-hmm. 90%. And if women keep outgrowing men aren't going to stand a chance. It's going to get worse.
Yeah.
Men have to step up and do their part. And like I said, the men who are listening to this today, I am so proud of you for doing that. And keep going, because women are ahead of you already. They are. And it can't be that way.
Thank you. I want to thank you. Well, first I also want to express my gratitude for you men listening who, you're here. You're actively wanting to grow and wanting more for yourself and wanting more for women. And so thank you, from the bottom of my heart. And thank you, Jenny, for being a woman who, is also calling me into deeper places and more worthiness in a way in myself to actually ask men to show up more. And just seeing some of my own hesitations and my own fears even more clearly as you're talking, and how I hold back, and yet that invitation, as long as it's coming from beyond shaming, blaming, whatever, like my desires, my invitation, that is loving. So I'm getting to see that in a deeper way, and I appreciate that. And thank you for supporting both men and women.
Thank you. It's absolutely my pleasure. It's my purpose on this planet. I can't not do it.
Yeah, I feel that. And how can men find you if they want more?
My website is understandwomen.net. So that's understandwomen.net. And my email address is Jenny, Jenny, at understandwomen.net. And the company's called Access Granted.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you so much for having me and going vulnerable with me.
Yeah. I'm so glad you joined us for today's episode of Man Alive. I hope it gives you a sense of what's possible and how good your life can be. If you like what you heard, I'd be so grateful for you to subscribe to Man Alive and write a quick review that helps men like you find us. And again, head over to shanajamescoaching.com/manalive to get outtakes, videos, and raw footage I only share there. These are some of the most interesting parts of these expert conversations. You can also grab your copy of The Unknown Power to accelerate your career and solidify your confidence with women, because the two are related, and I know you don't have to settle for one or the other. Join us each week for a new episode of Man Alive.